The Pod Barber. Coming up on today's show.
Aims have to go out the window. Like I said, it has to be an ability to accept that if you start aiming something, you're queering the experiment. You're not allowing yourself to really be there because you're shutting down some sensitivity that you have because you're focusing on something else. So to focus on everything and nothing, i.e. what is actually happening, what does it all actually feel like, but all of it, within and without. You can start with simple exercises like how is my spine, how are my feet, how are the palms of my hands, how is my heart rate, can I feel the blood circulating inside my limbs, what does the inside of my kneecap absolutely feel like. That's not touch, just hold your hand out in the air, now close your eyes, and how do you know your hand is still there? What is it? Because it's not feel, it's not touch, it's not sight, it's not taste, it's not one of your six senses that you would label. So what is it that you're using to experience that knowing that your hand is still there?
It's the interoception.
It's your extra sense, there's another sense, isn't there?
You're listening to The Pod Barber. I'm championing the chat, proving conversation is the cure to better mental health and well-being. Meet my guests from all walks of life showing vulnerability and sharing wisdom. Sit in on my chats and be part of reality entertainment. Join the Pod Barber tribe. Subscribe, share and like people. Feel the sonic positivity we're pumping right at you. You, my friends, are not alone. Who's next, please? Well, I'll tell you who. We welcome a fine musician and friend who can often be found plucking licks, exercising his talent on his stringed weapons of rock. In the heart of the pub gig scene, I would describe him as an apnean martial guitarist, a lifelong lover of music and martial arts who wrestles with bipolar and various mental health issues, but through discovering positive benefits of breathwork, have largely kept the mania of mind under his influence. I can't wait to dump some CO2 with this dude today, learn more about bipolar, chronic pain and music. So without further ado, it's time to chill with a wonky donkey and welcome Danny Piper to the Pod Barber HQ. Welcome, my man.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Pleasure to have you, my man. We've had this one brewing a little while, haven't we?
A couple of friends were telling me about it and I've been having this cocking a sneaky ear here and there, sort of listening to bits.
Yeah, it's good to get you in here, son. I wasn't sure if you'd, with gigging and the scene back open, how you'd be on a Monday morning, but you seem pretty fresh to me, son.
Yeah, I had a gig at the weekend, a little sort of opening afternoon for an outside bar at a friend's pub. And at the moment, the gigs are knocking me a little bit, but this weekend was a good one. I'm all right. Yeah.
Nice, man. Right, dude, I write a poem, also known as a noodle. So here goes. Danny Boy Piper, a musician's way of life. Porous to creativity, lived hard, lived through strife. Lead guitarist, vocals in local scenes of rock heavy blues, licks from your frequency permeating vibes make me groove. Deeply connecting to kung fu and much more. Take a bow. Take a breath. Let the oxygen explore. A practising pulmonaut, believer of many techniques. Being up so high, been down so low, hit so many peaks, ultimately challenged by polar chronic pain, but you ain't done. Still the desire, lighting the stage up on fire, disciplined by Wing Chun.
Oh, like that. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I was wondering, what the hell's interesting about me? As we discussed the other week, and I was like, I don't really know what I've got to say there. But when somebody else looks at it and sort of pulls you apart a little bit, you're like, oh, okay, there's a bit going on.
Everyone's got a bit going on. Live performance, had to wait the longest to get back. How's it feeling, man, to get back?
It feels great.
What's it been like? Tell me.
It was a terrible time. We lost band members from two different bands during it. Another friend has had a heart attack. I've got to go see another friend today who's had a heart attack during this time as well. And yeah, being locked away from each other was like the cruelest punishment. And I think that people have started to realise how important that is, that communion, and that when we're not allowed to do it anymore, it's like, but this is all I do. My whole life is based around that. So when you take that away, you are looking around going, wow, well, what is there now then? Because what I do is play music with people. And yeah, man, it's been horrible. Really, truly horrible, and people are so grateful now when you go out and play again. Wow, it's like everybody's birthday, they've been brilliant. The audiences have been absolutely great, yeah. I'm going nuts, you know what I mean? Because they're literally, they've been locked up, and now they're starting to have some fun, and it's really great. It's sort of really life affirming as well. Reminds me that not everything I've done has been a waste of time. It's still the same thing I've been doing since I was 15 years old, and it hasn't changed, and people still love it, and I still love it. I didn't go wrong at the start there. That part of my life, really happy about the fact that I've always done it.
Yeah.
That's the thing that has meaning, you know.
Well, you now you're mentioning that part of your life, let's trace back to there, because I'm sure a lot of the issues that you've had to put in your backpack and sort of trudge through life until you've become this amazing sort of, local rock star. And I'll build you up, because I think everyone is anyway, so I'm not lying. Growing up, 15, getting into musicianship, you were teaching to earn some extra pennies. Yeah. Tell me all about it, man.
When I first started playing guitar, I got given a guitar with a broken headstock, so it only had 2 strings on it. I was given my mum's old record collection, which then had become her sisters, then her brothers, so my aunts and uncles, and then they passed it down to me. So it was all old Beatles records and Searchers and stuff like that. And all I could play was vocal melodies, because you couldn't make chords on this guitar, and you had 2 strings. So I learned to play like that. And then we moved up to Essex when I was about 11, and we were living in a rural community, which I wasn't so used to. But that meant I'm sitting at home playing guitar 6 hours a day plus, for a lot of the time. And so, by the time I was 15, I started teaching friends to begin with, and got my first pro job. I literally recorded a demo tape of me doing lots of widdly stuff on a guitar. Band was advertised in this heavy metal band. They were called Deadly Charm. And I sent off the tape, and they called me up and they said, "Yeah, you're exactly what we want. You're brilliant." I hadn't told them my age at that point. And the next thing I know, we're gigging and all of that. Luckily, I had long hair, and they weren't so hot on IDs at the time, because most of the clubs we were playing, I was too young to go in. But I used to get my mum drop me off and do these gigs for these heavy metal bands. And after a year or so of that, I sort of realised I was also starting school bands and things like that. But I realised now I want my own band, not mine like I own it, to be part of the team that is the band, and we all write together and all the rest of it. And my music taste changed massively. Grunge came along, and I knew a direction that I wanted to go in, which wasn't the heavy metal that we were playing. I didn't even want to play guitar like that anymore. I was like a stunt guitarist for that band. Literally, I don't think I played any chords for them. It was all sound effects and speed metal shredding, and so I got out of that very, very quickly and stopped being such a guitar athlete and went to musicality, if you like, formed a band, and it went from there, really. We did. It was originally Salamander's Dream, then called the Peaceniks, and then Fat Dragon over the years. Went up the Square and won their little rock contest and that, recorded a demo, got a manager, and it went mental. I think we managed, it must have been at least 15 years, really, of with my 4 best mates, really, a little tribe, and that's what my life was, really. It was travelling around, gigging, recording.
Just a great life.
Yeah. And again, success is how you measure it. But the success was in the doing, really. We had an amazing time. Days flew. We'd spend 9 hours at a time at rehearsals writing. We'd write so many songs. I don't think many of them got gigged more than once, because they get knocked out of the set by a new song the next time we play. You know what I mean? And people were going, "When are you going to play that song?" I guess, no, that's not in the set anymore. Fans are having a hard time even keeping up with the material, because we just were creating. We just were living together and creating, and it was absolutely beautiful. It was a proper little family band. Supported some big acts. We played with Reef, Space, Blind Melon, Feeder, I think, was another band. Got to meet famous people, recorded in their houses and things like that. And just a fabulous life, absolutely brilliant.
What you dream of, what the kids dream of when they sort of look at rock and roll. But I mean, nowadays it's, they go for the straight away, mum and dad, massive, expensive Fender guitars and all the shebang, but they're not getting the doing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the done.
It's the doing, yeah.
Everyone wants the done, don't they? But not the doing. You've got to learn your craft.
Yeah, you look at X Factor and things like that. Well, there's always a goal. There's always an end result, like we were talking about. So we're always looking far away from where they actually are, to the point where I win the X Factor, or I get this record deal, or I make this much money, or I buy my house, or I marry that model, or whatever the hell it is you think you're going to do. But you're not doing. You're not in it. That is where the joy is. That is where the life is. That's where the magic happens. And that is an experience they're missing, because they're looking away, looking to the future, looking to the horizon, looking to this aim, this abstract, a situation that actually doesn't exist, because it's in the future. It can't exist. It's, you're not now.
In and amongst that time, you started off as you were 15. You've mentioned that you've had different mental health issues. Were they present? Was your awareness for those things then, or did it not really seem to play a part?
Yeah, it had a massive effect on me, that So a bit of background is there's a history of mental illness on my mother's side. My mother committed suicide, as did her father, as did his mother. And a lot of my mum's family suffered in all different sort of ways. We didn't really know a lot about mum's illness until my dad left, and it all kind of actually deteriorated really, really badly. She became, I won't say non-communicative, but repeating the same sentence. You couldn't talk her out of her fug. She was paranoid and, yeah, just in a really, really bad way. She wouldn't sleep. I think about 18 months, 2 years of it, really, before in the build-up to her suicide. And a horrible, horrible experience with NHS mental health services at that time. They let us down badly. So my mum was fantastic. She was a brilliant, brilliant woman and a massive imagination and really funny. But I'm left thinking, well, how much was normal? I don't really know what was really mum, what was really normal. And after a suicide, it's like a black hole. You even lose memory. You lose a hell of a lot. Building up to that, I was suffering myself anyway with bouts of depression and insomnia and things like that. And later in my life, got diagnosed as bipolar 2, which is a bit more, I'd say, on the depressive side of bipolar, although I did have manic episodes, which was shielded by the lifestyle, I think, hidden from me, if you like, to a degree. I didn't really, we were doing bad substances and things like that, so that may have buried a hell of a lot. But I realised one day that I had two different groups of friends who had a name for the guy that comes out when it's not Danny anymore. One group of friends used to call him Bluey, another group Pepper Army, and they all knew it wasn't me. They knew he won't remember this tomorrow. This is not how Danny acts. This is not how he behaves. He's not like that. But they'd noticed, and that's when I started to realise, okay, it isn't just you going out and getting wasted and having a party with everybody. It's something else is going on. So later in life, that I became medicated for that. Took a lot of medication. And it's a struggle, it's one of those things where you doubt yourself, much like I doubted what mum really was and what she was like and how my past was and what was normal and what was not, because, we're all held up these icons of normality and things like that, but I had no idea which portions of my life I should have paid attention to and which I shouldn't. So that was a constant struggle, and I've always found that I'd go through these periods where I find it really hard to operate. I quit medication about 5-6 years ago now for that, when I realised that I was on more of one particular chemical than Robin Williams was on when he took his own life. And I thought, well, if he was on that and he took his own life, this is not helping me. They're strong psychoactive drugs. So I thought I need to know who I am again. I need to get back, I need to strip back down to see at the base of it how I am, who I am and how I am, and can I deal with this any other way? Because you lose yourself to that medication. I was married. I probably, again, wasn't great to be around for periods of time, and I couldn't settle, be happy, be content with myself, and I couldn't say whether it was really me or it was the meds, so I come off them. The martial arts help with that, the focus and the mental strength. I've been lucky, despite sort of certain things about my lifestyle. I've always been naturally pretty fit, and this is like a humbling experience. You get used to physically being let down by your body. We spoke about mental things. I'm used to that, but physically I've never had this before.
There's two separate parts, and we've got to train both of them, haven't we? The mind and the body. And like you said, you're an active, fit dude, despite being a cool rock and roll star. Do you know what I mean? Like heavy weekends, partying, all sorts of, no good, depending on how you look at it. Or
I kind of being active and fit is one half of me, but the other half is absolute self-destruction, and my habits aren't good. You know what I mean? And I batter this body quite regularly with all kinds of chemical abuse and physical abuse. But like I say, it's never broken down on me before. It's never been something that I've had to pay the piper for, if you like. And now I am.
You are the piper.
I am, I'm having to pay myself back a bit,
Well, I mean, it could be that, or like you said, it could be something else, a mixture of things. But sometimes you do need Western medicine to sort of identify and point the light in the right area, and that requires time, effort, and a consistent investigative process.
It's almost like you need validation. You want somebody to say, this is what's up, and you're right that you can't work, or you're not. You have a valid excuse. Especially in this society, we're put on to feel like we should be productive and we should be doing this and we should be doing that. As soon as people talk about aches and pains and or any kind of physical problem or whatever, if you can't say this is it, then people kind of look at you a bit funny. And to describe to somebody what it's like to be in constant pain for months and months and months, daily, hourly, minutely, it's really, really difficult to get that across. And people stop listening because you're just a one-track record and you're just talking all the time the same way, moaning. I'm terrible to live with right now. It's horrible for the people around me because if they ask, then they pretty much know the answer they're going to get. Actually, when I've been able to turn around the last few days and say, I'm all right today, it's like, look on their faces.
They don't believe you.
Yeah, they're like, oh, bloody hell, I weren't expecting that. We've not had that answer for a year,
Yeah.
So, yeah, we want that sort of validation and for doctors not to be able to say or not to even be able to spend the time to actually help you get to the bottom of what's going on. That's a really frustrating place, and quite scary. You're thinking about income, you're thinking about everything else. As soon as you start to feel ill, you're always thinking there'll be a point at which this is all gone, this is all better. We're always looking outside of where we are right now to that moment. But you can't see it if you don't know what's going on. How can you project to a point where everything's back and everything's all right, And coping mechanisms is something, again, when we talk about the NHS, they're always playing a catch-up game. There isn't enough money and there isn't enough time and there isn't enough people. You largely have to seek this out yourself. It's like part of your journey in your life is to find these ways to cope with life itself. And the biggest thing about it with anything like this, I think, and it's very, very difficult to do, I'm guilty of it too, is not letting these things define you because they become not just part of your personality, but the overriding bit of it. At that time at which you're in sufferance, that's the biggest thing. You can't teach universal truths to a starving man. You've got to feed him, So the point when he's starving, that's his definition, really. He hasn't got a lot of personality beyond, give me something to eat. So when somebody's in trauma of any kind, it becomes defining. And you hate yourself if you're that person because you look at that image and you think, well, who is this useless person, this definition of pain or disease or trauma or whatever it is you're in. That's not a place where people want to be. And to find some understanding of that or people who understand that and can help you see outside, that's really tough.
We need to feel safe, healthy, happy and at ease, don't we? And to get those 4 little things ticking along, you can't do it on your own, can you? You've got to kind of learn. But actually, this comes at different ages. But largely, you start to get to our sort of age. Yeah. Things do start to go wrong.
It's actually should be our life's obsession. It really is why you're here, is to solve the problem of yourself and to master it. But it's a shifting target as
it's
life
fluid.
is. Yeah, it's fluid. And so we should be going all the way through our lives trying to understand these things. It should be our absolute obsession. The healthiest thing we could do for the rest of the world. We could change our impact on it for the better. And it's the healthiest thing we can do for ourselves because it's the one thing we have some control of if we get to the stage of having some control of it. You've got 2 approaches, really. If you don't like the way the world is going, you can go out there and try and change the whole world, which is not really going to happen for you, or you need to change yourself. You need to have some control over that. So that would be the area, really, that realistically, if you've got any ounce of common sense, you're going to say, well, I'll do that one then, because otherwise I can't,
well,
I can't
I'm already right here.
Yeah, I can't paint every blade of grass purple, so that's not going to happen. But there's no functionality for that in schools. Christ, they're moving away from teaching religion rather than towards. And I'm not talking about religion, really, but I'm talking about self. But there is no mechanism for that generally in our society as a whole. We don't sort of structure our lives around this. There is no shaman in your village anymore. There is no direction to an understanding of yourself within this universe, if you like.
Yeah, man.
There'll be a million people who say, I don't fit, and we come from this musical background. We know a million musicians around here and a lot of people leading alternative lifestyles or whatever. But I've always felt like I don't understand what everybody's driving towards. Where are they going? All these cars on HP, all these massive mortgaged houses, I don't get what they're charging towards. And it seems like survival for survival's sake or gain for gain's sake. And it doesn't really seem to have a direction that makes a lot of sense.
At the cost of what?
Exactly. And who puts up those things that you idolise, that you aim for? Why have you taken that on as the thing that you want to attain? Well, your dad liked nice cars, so you buy nice cars. I don't get, once you've attained that thing, that shiny thing is no longer the thing that you're aiming for anymore. And then you'll move on to another. Yeah. Exactly, you'll move on to another. So where is the point at which you say, I can stop doing that now because I'm not getting the satisfaction? There is no rest. And what we actually realise across time is it's the being and the doing, it's not the goal. So some people will get loads of pleasure out of the things that they do, striving to get those things. And that's why they move from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, is because actually it's the engagement. like being in bands, like studying martial arts. It's the time when you're in on it itself. That's where your success is. We breathe together, we're synchronizing together, when you're connecting with other people, you're in the process, and there's a creation. And in that creation, bing, something else is happening. You've made life, you've made energy, you're directing energy, you've got your focus has driven you towards something. And all these things have kind of come together, and there is your peak experience, if you like. And now to attain that all the time could be possible. But the way we live our lives mostly, we're not in that. Especially now in the modern age, you see kids growing up with all of this. Everything is possible, everything is attainable, all knowledge is right there for you. But like we said before, telling somebody something about an experience is an absolutely useless waste of time.
Tell me that story you told me earlier.
The Buddhist monk, so he takes a novice to go for an early walk to go see the sunrise off the top of a mountain. They go there. The understanding is, let's just go experience it, don't talk. And he takes the novice, the sun comes up and it's absolutely stunning. And the novice can't help himself, and he turns around and he says, "Well, Master, this sunrise is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. I can't believe we've been so lucky to experience this." The Master says nothing, but they walk back, and he never takes him out ever again. With the idea being that he sullied the experience with another medium. Why were words necessary? That was not part of the experience, and it doesn't help us describe it. We didn't need to communicate that. We both had that experience. It was a shared experience, so why? And I think that says what I was talking about.
It's the energy connection, isn't it, to the thing that you're doing, being present.
Realistically, education system, for example, as to what it was originally set up for, to provide a workforce, within that, why has there never been, there's one thing for sure. You are people, you are souls, you are humans, and you're on this planet. And what about the best way to experience and survive that? Not just survive, but thrive within that. What about tools for that? Because that surely is as good a life skill as being able to use Google nowadays.
I think, I've got 3 kids, I've mentioned it many a time, and I look at the systems in place, and, I'm very hopeful that I can play some sort of part of paying forward the energy, the feeling, the sense that I get. And actually, I feel an emergency to do this, because I do feel like, I know we only live for like 90 or 100 years at the very most. I sort of feel like, I am able to look after myself. I have brought other people into this world. So I want to pour from my cup into their cups, but I want them to then do the same. And the thing that we can learn with schools is about, we have to approach education with the fact, the key word is innovation. There's going to be innovations. Like what you said, the only thing that really will be constant will be the human experience.
Yeah.
And if you can get that right, or better, and safe, happy, healthy, at ease, you're then going to be better in society around you. You're then going to take less from Mother Nature. You're then going to help when someone needs it because they haven't got food.
Yeah.
You'll then eyeball those who are being oppressed and think we need to put energy there. We will start to breathe more as one. Now, that sounds like the perfect anecdote for the world today, doesn't it?
That is what we are at the bottom of it all. It's not exclusive. Everybody's got these tools. We're all perfect at the bottom of it all, and we need to A, see that, and then B, it's the how. It's not what you do at all. Everybody's going to do different things in life, and we're infinitely varied, and that's perfect. That's exactly how it should be. But it's the how. The how you do things that makes the difference. Making sure that the how is about being caring, about being sensitive, about right action. And those things, they come naturally. You can only point the way to the how, but you can't say the what, because people wouldn't understand.
Philosophy. I like Stoicism. I like Buddhism. I like a bit of a cocktail of the two with breathwork, which is more Buddhist sort of centred. Your martial arts. I've seen videos of your breathwork as well. Tell me about your experience with breathwork, with the martial arts, and how you find it's affected your health.
So a bit of background. When I was about 7, one of my uncles was big into his judo, really, really big, and he was helping instruct and doing really well at it. So he started teaching me judo, and then I went to a club and started to learn. Quite enjoyed that, and that went really well. And then a few years later on, I joined an actual kung fu and kickboxing school, and that was, again, really good. And I was also doing things like yoga. But it was all a bit fractal back then. It's a lot better nowadays. Things are more complete. But the Martial Arts Society, as a rule, was almost quite secretive, and actually getting the good info, even within the clubs you were in, was really hard, because people good at it don't want to show you why they're good. That would be not the point. So there was a sports side, and the philosophical side was slightly lacking, although we did have it. We did start to do the meditations, and we did start to do breath works, and that's why the Chinese martial arts particularly sort of really spoke to me, because there is that side. Like Stoicism has at its base, the practice of repetition and focus and all of that is a big, big part of it, and this extends outside of the act of like just doing 1,000 press-ups or training a kick or training a punch, to breathing, to focusing the mind. So then later on, coming up to more modern times, there's a new thing out there at the moment called Qigong. It was originally Negung, which is a warrior art, which is a series of exercises, both mental and physical, that are designed to improve, first of your health, in all different areas, but also can be used for certain body hardening techniques and things like that. So Negung does become quite hard, actually. There are a whole different ways to approach it and stuff like that. So I'm not an expert. I had some really good intense lessons on training camps in Europe, going out to see our Sifu when we were studying Wing Chun. And as part of that, we'd do Qigong every day before undertaking the actual training for 4 or 5 hours a day, what have you. And that's when I started to really sort of get into it. Since then, I've done my own research and added to those things that I know. And at the moment, I'm only training it for health purposes, to try to alleviate problems that I'm suffering with at the moment. But I had to say that what it does inside mentally is, like you said, the more you delve, the deeper you go. There's something out there for you that you didn't know was even there, because you weren't looking for it, because you couldn't have been, because you didn't know.
Yeah.
Like a flavour you've never tasted, like I keep going back to this idea. It's beautiful, because life is more mystical than people think, and there's still plenty of secrets out there, and it doesn't matter how fast technology goes or how quick the world spins, it really doesn't make any difference. This is still out there, and it gets bigger and bigger the deeper you look. So it will go on forever. It'll always be there for you, and it should be our number one life's obsession as far as I'm concerned, because I can't think of anything better to do with your time on this planet than explore that, and it's there for you. It's all there.
Hey there, it's Howie. Just interrupting really briefly, I've got a quick favour to ask. We don't run ads on the Pod Barber, but if you're finding this podcast helpful, or if you know someone who might benefit from listening to it, please take just 10 seconds to share this episode by tapping on those 3 little dots on your podcast player. From there, you can text or email a link to the show and spread the word of what we're trying to do here. That'd be great. Mick and I really appreciate your help. Okay, back to the show.
So when you've accidentally found something like I have, it's different from you. You've been trained with the martial arts. You've been to retreats. Tell me a bit about the retreat.
Yeah, well, they're summer camps, essentially. Ken and I are...
Ken Herring. Well, let's give Ken Herring a shout-out. Because he run. Let's give now locally a good shout-out for... Is it Wing Chun or Kung Fu that you're teaching?
It's Wing Chun is a form of Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And we also do Eskrima in our school, although we haven't been focusing on that very much lately, which is a Filipino weapons-based martial art as well.
Where are Ken and you based for people that are local here?
It's Ken's club. He's the instructor. He's been brilliant with me. He's taught me so much within it. But we have an actual Sifu who's a Dutch guy, a guy called Benno. We go out to see him periodically for these summer camps as part of our little group. And obviously he comes over to do gradings and such like that. So the summer camps are, we have usually one in Spain, one in Holland, and there'll be others around, but they're the 2 that we generally go to. And you literally get the chance to go out and live like you really want to live, because actually, our Sifu's very good, but it's because he gets to do it all day, every day. And if we could, we would, because that is essentially, like I was saying, I can't think of anything better to do with your time. Martial arts is misunderstood in that regard. It's not about fighting, really. It's this thing we've been talking about, this self-improvement. That is all part of the same thing. So yeah, we go out and it just is a chance to intensively train. We do a lot more technique-wise than you would do within your normal programs, if you like, and experiment a lot. Sometimes they might get a Muay Thai guy in to train a bit of that. So when our Sifu went and did a full-on Qigong course with our Grandmaster in China, he spent, I think it was 90 days, pretty much having to do this all day, every day, which is physically a massive test on you, to do the breathing all day, every day. They put like tea lights on their hands on the backs of their hands and they're standing in this one position until that tea light is gone, and then you do another thing or whatever it is. It's intense, but the benefits are incredible, mentally and physically. And it's a unification of the two, obviously. So the control that you can exhibit on your body by using your mental strength, and the calm that you can bring to your brain by using your body and your breathing, is a unifying process. And again, just learning to better be yourself. That's really it. Again.
What do you see like from the benefits on these kids now that you're introducing this with the more modern approach, like you say, with the not the escapism from your mental health issues, but with the awareness that this is here? Does that bleed through in the classes? Are you seeing benefits?
I think so, yeah. Self-reliance and self-confidence are just a different set of ethics than what might be generally on offer for you in other aspects of your life, you know. So, and of course the physical health side of it and the safety side of it, the self-protection. Obviously, we want to build these good lives for ourselves, but we also want to be able to defend the people that are close to us and ourselves, you know, and to be able to repel somebody who would want to take that away. But yeah, it's a fabulous class. I'd really, really recommend it. It's so eye-opening. It's a brilliant style. Wing Chun is, so the concept being that a smaller, weaker person could defeat even a trained fighter. That would be the idea. It's a very, very technical, conceptual martial art. I absolutely love it. I think it's beautiful. The movements are beautiful. The calm it brings to your brain is beautiful. When you see it with people studying it as well, a lot of people will come in almost aggressive from the start because they think that's what's required, and you see that change in mindset once they see, oh, this is not it at all. Some things you just can't learn in an aggressive manner. You're not sensitive enough. There are ways to study martial arts like that, and that's fine, but it's not really what we do in this particular style.
No, this arm of it is blissful, breath work, controlled.
Yeah, and sensitivity, because you need to be able to use the power and energy coming from another person against them. So it's far more subtle act than just putting a brick wall in front of something, you know, or trying to grab hold of somebody or punch them or something like that. It's a far more sensitive dance.
Yeah, it's a real practice. Obviously, in boxing or kickboxing, you'd go through your rounds and you'd weigh up what the other person was doing. The best ones do.
Yeah.
And their efficacy with the shots they throw and stuff becomes their defence. That becomes sometimes, although not the highlight of scoring a free kick from 30 yards or whatever, but basically that becomes something beautiful when
it's a physical expression.
You can see that thing. I'm going to have to admit, I did an online kung fu course as one of my many courses.
Oh yeah, what did you do?
I've done a few martial arts, and actually in contact, I always end up dislocating one of my thumbs, and I'm a barber, so it's a bit tricky, man. Yeah. And I think it's because I get maybe carried away, and I've never been introduced to martial arts, so I'm a bit probably two left feet, as it were, you know. Yeah. But I like the idea that it was breath work, and I thought, well, if I do it online, I can't get hurt, you know, unless I'm standing too close to a mirror and I punch the mirror. But actually, the whole centering of chi and the energy, and then when you feel the double dragons or the bits and pieces, when you connect just the energy, even online on a laptop, I could get that. So I can see how cool and beneficial it would be. And that's the sort of thing that you can practice forever.
You don't need any equipment. You don't need a specific space. You can do it in a jail cell. It doesn't matter. All on the theme that we've been discussing, really, but this idea of self-improvement is always there for you, and it's infinite. It's such a beautiful and amazing process. And they can't sell you something off the back of it, really. Okay, it costs money to study these things, but only because you're paying for people's time and knowledge. You know, that's essentially what you're doing. But once you have it, it can never be taken away again.
It really enhances you, doesn't it? It's and it's doing something active and a physical movement with the breath work. You forget almost about everything because you're concentrating. It's like a mantra, because you're running through a rhythm, and it is, like you said, a dance. But that is a meditation in itself. That is a physical benefit, health benefit, mental health. If there's
one thing that you could give to anybody in the world, everybody in the world right now, I would just say that this is it. And even if it was something as simple as abdominal breathing, just breathing into your tummy so your chest doesn't expand at all, you feel your tummy expand, push downward and expand out towards the back, down and out to the front as well. Fill that and then empty it like an emptying bag. It is good for everything, because we shouldn't be breathing in our chests the way we do. This is a prey animals thing. If you watch a baby when it's lying on its back, you've seen your kids when they were little.
Yeah.
The belly moves when they breathe, not the chest. They don't do this. They do that. if we were hunting, to make ourselves quieter, we would breathe our chests to try and trap the air, to try and keep. But this means it's a stress response, which means you produce cortisol just breathing like that, like we all breathe at the moment. We're actually producing stress hormones all the time. And this is why people have anxiety and all the rest of it, because their body is not unified to not produce that stress. They're actually creating that tension with the way they're just their everyday practice of being and their obsession with either future or past. So the two things together, the unifying the body, the breathing and the mind to the present, so that you're not stressing about the future, which is obviously anxiety, and you're not worrying about the past, which is depression, because you can't change it. That's what it is. So this practice can be martial, this can be the breathwork type of thing, it can be meditative. It's actually all under the one umbrella.
Exactly,
we're calling it self-improvement or whatever we call it, but it is there for everybody. It's free to do, and all you need is the knowledge to start. And whatever it is you do, you can't do it wrong. It's the how, it's not the what. If you start it in earnest, and even if you only do a little bit and you get a little bit better that's improvement. You know, there's growth, and you'll either become addicted to it and get more and more into it, or you won't, and and that's fine too. But it's there for you. Aims have to go out the window. Like I said, it has to be an ability to accept that if you start aiming something, you're queering the experiment.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You're not allowing yourself to really be there, because you're shutting down some sensitivity that you have because you're focusing on something else. So to focus on everything and nothing, i.e. what is actually happening, what does it all actually feel like, but all of it, within and without. It goes on. You can start with simple exercises like, how is my spine? How are my feet? If you're doing the standing, how is my balance? Where is everything? How are the palms of my hands? And then you're breathing, obviously. How is my heart rate? Can I feel the blood circulating inside my limbs? What does the inside of my kneecap absolutely feel like? That's not touch. That exercise I got given once is an idea of like, just hold your hand out and hold it out in the air. Now close your eyes. And how do you know your hand is still there? And what is it? Because it's not feel, it's not touch that you're experiencing. It's not sight, it's not taste. It's not one of your six senses that you would label. So what is it that you're using to experience that knowing that your hand is still there?
It's the interoception.
It's your extra sense. Yeah, there's another sense, isn't there?
So Danny Piper is introducing you to the seventh. I think it was probably the sixth one. The seventh is is the extraception. So it's the things around you impacting you. This, again, it's about energy and feelings of other things and noise, but we use our common senses. I wonder why it hasn't become, it's not kept a secret, but why it's only done by martial artists. It's only done by, yoga practicing people. It's only done by, weirdos like me that wanted to hold their breath for ages and, not freak out when you're going to drown if you're a rubbish surfer, but you love surfing. Like, that's how I discovered these things, you know what I mean? So there's a few of us that sort of get into it. But when you do, you come with it, you practice. What I am doing is I'm building up a cardiovascular system that's more resistant to ailments. I'm less needy of synthesized drugs. I ask less of the NHS that's already at burden. I feel like I'm able to therapize myself with most of my own issues. I'm not saying that there's not going to be a time where I need all of those Western ideas to complement my pre-covery to the human experience.
Pre-covery like that.
That's my favourite word. But that, for me, if I was going to draw, my sort of go-go gadget tool belt, all it would be is, it's your lungs, pal.
Yeah.
You can't go very long until you die without breathing. Yeah. So it's an automatic response to wanting to live. Yeah. We do need to spread the word about this as often as possible. Yeah.
It's a strange one. It's always been there, and in different ways as well. It's not just the Chinese. I guess the way it was viewed, there's a lot of secrecy around these things in the past as well. There are times when this kind of stuff was even outlawed, by certain emperors and whatnot. The financial incentive perhaps isn't there for society to push these things. You can make money off drugs. You can make useful employees by educating them in a certain skill set and whatnot. But this is personal. This is for everybody. And who really benefits from the profligation? Well, we all do, but directly, nobody.
So it is down to us to go, hold on a minute, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be fit into your box.
It's one of the only things It's outside the matrix, if you like, if you want to see it like that. If you go on a protest march, you're still inside. You're still in the matrix, right? You might think, I have an alternative lifestyle, but you're still inside the matrix. You might have political leanings that say, I want to fight this power, I want to do that, the other, but you're still inside the matrix because it's all self-contained. It's not like some big evil guy's designed it. It's just the web that we've made as mankind.
It's
we're inside
gone.
that.
Yeah.
But this is not. If you want to actually know there's something out there for you that is not in the matrix, then that is it. The introspection, the idea of self-improvement, the fact that you are both within and without and are infinite, that is always there for you, and it's not in the matrix because it has no use. It has no relationship to that world. If you want an escape, if you want to feel some freedom, then it's there for you. But your thoughts are part of that too. And just even the idea that you're discussing it or thinking about it or listening to somebody discuss it like people might be, that's going to raise your vibration for a start. It all sounds hippy-dippy and I'm not that kind of guy, to be totally honest with you, but this is something that is important, you know, and I guess if you can hear it from other people's point of view, we might click that buzzword that would turn somebody on.
Yeah.
We keep saying it enough times, we might click that one word that somebody goes, bing, that's not what I thought it was like. You know, I wasn't interested in yoga, but what they're talking about, you know, or whatever it be. Just the idea that it's being discussed, shared is part of it. It's a positive already. We're already moving in that direction.
Yeah, momentum. I think that's the perfect way to look at it. You know, you're not really hippy-dippy, and you said it with a smile on your face, and I'm thinking people are looking for something, and I feel that, yes, there's a load of influences, there's a load of material stuff on offer, but I do think people are looking for something far more important than that. They just don't know. So if you are listening to this, if you think that, you know, someone else might get some sort of a buzz out of talking about breathing, as much as us two fools are, then share the episode. We mentioned a book, we've mentioned martial arts, there's lots of different things. Go and ask someone within different areas of fitness, well-being, the institutions of martial arts near you, join up and ask them about it and just start having a chat, because actually that's the first step.
That's what struck me when you said you were first doing this way back. And I was thinking, okay, so championing the chat, what's the point of that kind of thing? And then having listened to a couple and the sort of general idea of it, it's like, I get it, I absolutely get it now. Do you know what I mean? I completely understand where you were coming from. Just because, like how we've been discussing now, the vagaries of all this, there is no, well, I'm going to do this and this is going to sell this and I'm going to buy that. It's not that.
It's impossible to articulate on its own, but this is it.
Yes, exactly.
This is championing the chat.
You're in it. Yeah, you're in it. And that's the point, isn't it? Being in it is the process, you know.
I'm so pleased you've picked up on that. So, I mean, we've covered a bit of bipolar, family history of suicide, and I'm grateful that you brought that up. And just by saying the word, again, it's another thing. It's like we've got to get rid of these stigmas, haven't we? Because it's a really horrible thing. And actually, the whole reason this podcast started in the first place was my friend, you know, who took his life. I think about that all the time. I have mixed emotions having spoken to different people. Obviously, we all go through that bit of grief and self-doubt and could I have, you know, the challenging of it. You know, I feel like if we could package together the theory of pre-recovery philosophy that we adapt, we could probably mop up some of this grey area, couldn't we?
Yeah. Like I say, any improvement is improvement, right? So, you know, anything moving in the right direction is the right direction, you know, be it small or big. It doesn't matter. The aim is not the point. The journey is always it. So that's the path that we could all try to be treading on a little more.
Like social media stress, it is difficult these days because we've sort of been locked down and to come back into the world. How do you get your message out there without it? Yeah. How are you guys with the bands and stuff? Are you sort of starting to go off, we're going to have to do a bit more with this?
I hate it. I'm terrible. I'll put things up on Facebook and then I won't even reply when somebody asks a question. It's scattered at best, and I'm not great at self-promotion or anything like that. And it's, again, not really the point. People who know, who want to see us, they know where we are. Yeah, we play some great little places. These things grow organically, but we're doing it. We're in the doing. I haven't changed at all. I'm doing still, you know. So it's the greatest joy is that communion between friends. I'm very, very lucky. Not had many situations in my life where I've had ego problems or anything like that within a band or anything like that. I'm very, lucky at picking my surrogate families, you know, and I get guys around me who are great friends, and there's always a massive amount of love in the projects that I'm in, and that's where the pleasure is, that's where the joy is, and that's why it's good. None of them need anybody else's validation then, because we already know it's good. It's already a great time for us. Most Wonky Donkeys gigs, if anybody's ever been, they'll tell you, and the same with the Blues Export. It's like, we're having the party, you can join in if you like, but we're having it regardless. That is really what it is, you know what I mean? It's not so much a show, because there's not a show about it. It's not fake, it's not a performance. It is a bunch of guys having a whale of a time. If that sounds like something you want to be part of, then you come along and watch, you know, and it's like, and join in kind of thing. But that really is the attitude. And like I say, very, very lucky. I got to play with some brilliant, wonderful, loving people. And you can't ask for any more than that.
If there was an aim, that's the aim, isn't it? That's the heartbeat of quality music. You're lucky to be playing originals, man. I'm sure you'd do a wedding gig for someone who loves your music.
Yeah.
But the fact is, it's like, no, we love our music. We love making this together. What's the most important thing about being in a band?
It is each other, yeah. It's the communion. It's the coordination of each other, the working together, the bouncing ideas off of each other. You're pleasing each other, you know what I mean? It's not coincidental that the energy arts, the martial arts and music, these actually happen to have this in common, and it's quite evident on the surface. It's all about manipulating vibration. So music is that, as is thought, as is breath work, as is Qigong, as is everything else. You're manipulating vibration, taking something that is already happening all around us and is everywhere and shaping it in some way. A band is an expression of that. We're making the air vibrate in a way. And the way we work together, you know, because if we didn't coordinate, it would be a cacophony and it would be a mess, and there would be a clash of molecules all over the place, and it would sound bloody awful. So the harmony of that is the art of it, and that's the doing. That's the in. Like when you're in a breath work exercise, you're doing.
The connecting.
Yeah, it's play.
It's
play. We're playing. Like you play music. You don't work music. You play it. You know, you're playing with magic.
Just name the bands for me, please, so people can look them up.
Okay, we got the Wonky Donkeys. We're still around. We've done a couple of little bits, and we will be doing some more in the future. We're carrying on without Jay, but they're a brilliant band if anybody's ever seen. They play the covers that they want to play. Yeah, it's a great time. Blues Export, which I'd say is the most constantly gigging at the moment, which is with Mike. That's basically boogie and blues, and a real good time band, and that's gigging all over the place. And the Jabberwocky Prayers, which is our little originals project, which is actually started by John Hewson and Clive Brooks, but they've brought a few of us in now, and we're all writing together and playing together. It's a brilliant little project. Every song is different, and it's real fun. Yeah, really, really good. They're the three bands, the Jabberwocky Prayers, the Blues Export, and the Wonky Donkeys. All great guys.
So if people tap this up in Facebook and all these kind of things, there's pages, and they can start to go, do you know what, I really want to go and listen to some of that.
Yeah.
Because I bet you there'll be loads of people that do, because this is real music, people. This is coming from decades of musicianship. This is phenomenal. I cannot stress that enough. And when you're like rehearsing, do you ever get that moment, like in the breathwork, where all of you suddenly look around and that you've all found that sort of moment and you're like, wow.
Yeah. Rehearsals are as fun as the gigs. Like I said, there's nothing fake about any of them. I'm very, very lucky. And these boys will get together to rehearse with as much enthusiasm as if it were a gig. It really almost doesn't matter if anybody gets to see it or not, because it's just what we do. And it's just amazing fun. So quite often we will all look around and, wow, you know, that was amazing. We'll never play it like that again, and that kind of thing. You know, it's a synchronicity, yeah, and it's the odds of it happening, everything being right, and you know, you're improvising perhaps, and you'll make it, and the guy to your left is improvising, the guy to your right is improvising. You're all making stuff up as you go along, and yet it works. It's all come together. Like I say, actually, the odds are just like the very fact that we're here. You know, if we went into odds and, you know, how did the one sperm that made me get through to the egg first, and go on and on. You know, the odds of anything are absolutely astronomical, but there you have a direct experience of something that is highly unlikely, but you're in it and it happens. And it's only because you were doing that it did. If you started out with the aim, it wouldn't have worked that way. You have to be doing.
It's not a material that you can go after and pay for.
No. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that you've hit the nail on the head then what we've been alluding to about the reason that it's not widely talked about, it's not widely profligated, it's, that's a big part of it. It's not a quantifiable thing. It's difficult for there to be a product at the end of it or even an aim at the beginning. So if we take those shallow values that we're spoon-fed all the time as any kind of yardstick as to whether something's valid or not, then none of this stuff that we're talking about stands up because it doesn't have any value in by those measurements.
Dude, get to the point where I want to ask you my curveball question. And I mean, for you, this is like whenever I get someone like you, it's always like, it doesn't seem that much of a curveball question. Sex, drugs and rock and roll. Pick a topic and whatever you naturally feel you want to talk about, how you want to talk about it, be as obscure as you love to.
They're all interchangeable. I've been at all three of them for most of my life. And yeah, all equally important, I'd say as well. Sex is an experience just like the music and just like the drugs, and I've loved all of them, I tell you what's interesting. Okay, here's what's interesting. Something that we all have, I don't know who first said it, you spend the first 40 years of your life building up a healthy ego and the next 40 trying to undo it. And acceptance of the fact that what you have will not last is something that we need to get to work on. And I do, and it's something that, like I discussed at the start about the physical breaking down of the body, or you can have a mental breakdown of the body, or you can... My mind, I've struggled with. My body, I'm struggling with. I have to accept that even my music, that won't be there forever. I died when I had sepsis. They told me I was going to lose my hand, and I'm lying there in hospital just in absolute bits, just thinking that defines me. This left hand, this is everything I do is off this, and I'm looking at a future where I won't have it. Right now, it's going to be gone. And luckily, they saved it. They saved the thumb. I don't have any nerves in the end there now, but this all grew back. It was stripped like a chicken wing. It was unbelievable. It was right down. And those things, sex, drugs, rock and roll, they're all great. And I don't intend to give them up until I have to, because I like experience and I like the enjoyment that I bring. Okay, same as the other stuff I'm into. But the reality is, none of any of what we got is going to last forever. So what is it that is? Even if you believed in reincarnation, at the head of the soul, at the point, that thing that keeps recurring, that keeps going into all different lives or whatever, if you believe in that stuff, there must be something same about it for it to be the one soul that keeps repeating, right? Your vibration in the universe, your impact on other people, whatever it is, there's something at the core that is always there. It will always be there. What is that? And how can we improve that? And how can we be in touch with that? And how can we... So, yeah, I guess the point I was trying to make is those things are all cool, but I'm coming round to the idea that none of that stuff matters. We're going to lose it all anyway. I'm getting round to the idea of accepting it.
Like, I've thoroughly loved having you in this podcast today.
Oh, thanks, I've loved being here.
And no, I have, and because you're my kind of chat, really. I said to Howie before, I was like, I know that you're one of them dudes that just likes to chew the fat, and you got some good experiences under your belt, and your view is so important. You're offering to the Pod Barber tribe, becoming one with us. I'm grateful, man. On that note, peace, love, power to your day.
Take care of yourselves, guys. Be good to each other.
The Pod Barber is a That Media and Design production, with Mickey at the mic and Howie at the controls. If you've been affected by any of the topics in this show, you can find more helpful information on the episode's page at thepodbarber.com and search The Pod Barber on social and let's get connected.